Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I have a great privilege right now of introducing three men that are great friends, and we've had a great adventure together 16 years ago. My son Jordan, Brad Wyman, and John Sanders. And these guys represent really the core of a team we took down to the Amazon in 2001. Jordan was the youngest. John was the oldest. Brad was right there in the middle. And all three of them have really come to a place in their lives where they've had some great success. And that success is something you'll get a chance to hear about, their families, their children. But guys, as you think back to that trip, I mean, some of the just quick, memorable moments, just fire away.
I think just the Cessna ride in.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of doing the 360s over the waterfalls on the way in was...
Watching Sean and Ryan puke in the cockpit of the plane.
They filled those bags pretty
They
quick.
filled those bags. That was so bad.
Trying to ride those water buffalo.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The indigenous had water buffalo. John's going to break them.
The obvious thing for me was the whole knife
Oh, man.
experience, trying to
Man.
smuggle
You're gonna have to
50
share
knives
that. Yeah.
on a carry-on bag.
Yeah, Brad's
international flight.
desire on an international flight was actually to take. He knew somebody in the
Switchblades,
sports,
switchblades.
the Dart
Knives,
brothers,
yeah.
and he was going to give knives to the children or to the people in the villages, something that they couldn't just have. It was a gift, and he had great intentions. But this was 4 weeks before 9/11, and Brad, good thing because you'd have gone straight to jail if it had been after that. But he tried to take the knives through the metal detector, and that didn't go over well. The moments when you do think back, the fondness of the trip, can you think of just maybe one person or one situation that your mind always goes back to?
I think
Jordan,
for
you
me
mentioned-
it's Lucho,
Yeah.
and I'll share more later, but just a relationship that I built in the Amazon with a person from a totally different walk of life, and grew to love, and yeah.
Brad, anything?
Not one person or thing or instance in particular, but certainly the children. The children were, they'll tug on your heartstrings.
Johnny?
Kind of like Brad, not one really particular situation. A lot of those jungle excursions, not excursions, whether it was work or, little safaris in the jungle.
Yeah, that was fun.
Them barefoot, walking, all that kind of stuff. Just, kind of the connections, even though we couldn't really speak their language, but you could just see the happiness kind of in there.
These guys are going to share a little bit more about their stories. I started talking about taking you guys to the Amazon about 2 years before we actually did it, somewhere around 99, 2000, we were really talking. From what you thought it was going to be to what it became, what was it?
For me, loss of breath, because you go from even the poorest people here, and in all of our situations, we probably haven't grown up like they grew up down there.
For me, it was very inspirational to see how little care there was for anything that they didn't have. And that love was ultimately the root of everything there.
What are some of the spiritual lessons that you take from that?
Definitely learning to love and care for people was a huge thing that I took away from that trip. And I think it was because it was reciprocated on the other end.
Their joy for something called God. It was incredible, and we have everything, and we get distracted, and we forget what we have.
I got a little parasite in my finger on the trip, and
that's true.
Lucho was the first one there to bring a knife to cut it out of my finger, and so they don't know you from Adam, but they're willing to do anything and everything they can to protect you in their land.
That's true. That is true.
And so I just saw that love, and I made a connection with Lucho down there, and I think that's one of the biggest pieces that I remember was no matter what our background was, no matter where we came from, we can share a common interest, and we can still learn to love each other and build a relationship.
Tell us a little bit about your family and how the trip had a lasting impact in some ways to being a father and a husband.
Sometimes I almost feel guilty because we want to spoil our kids, and we want them to have nice things, and we want them to, fit in and be like that when you think about the kids in Peru with nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
you give them a knife or you give them a shoe, and they'll have it for 10 years.
Yeah, they're using it.
Just
Yeah.
I guess maybe just the appreciation for things.
Right,
Really.
right.
Just making sure that your kids are appreciative. I think that's the biggest piece that I try to pass along to my kids, even as young as they are, that they're appreciative of what they have. Because everybody here, no matter where you're at financially, we spoil our kids in comparison to what we saw down in the jungle. And they're appreciative. They're happy. They don't know what they don't have.
Yeah.
But at times we're super. Kids can be stubborn and entitled. Even I find that out at 4 and 2, they can even become entitled. So just the appreciation of what we have, and knowing that others aren't so fortunate.
At the end of the day, if the only thing that I do is to love everybody, whether it's my family, my friends, my enemies,
Perfect.
then I feel like I've served my purpose. And that was never portrayed as clearly as it was on that trip.
We can pray, we can support, we can engage in the vision, but God also wants us to go. What would you say to anyone who's considering not just a trip to the Amazon, but any of the opportunities Grace puts forward? What would you say to them?
There's so many benefits from a selfish perspective that are gained that's worth it alone.
Yeah.
But the impact that we leave is ultimately the reason why we go.
But at the end of the day, the lessons we learned on that, and you can think back, the fellowship we had, sticks with you forever, and so do those lessons.
Step out and just talk to somebody, whether it's just sharing a little bit of love, a little bit of extra compassion, or whether it's jumping in both feet and going on a mission trip, because no matter where your heart's at the time, by the time you get back, it will have impacted you tenfold.